In this video, I'll be turning these two pictures into the doors for these two jewelry cabinets. Be sure to view the final clips of this video to see these cabinets filled with jewelry. After running this cherry stock through the planer and joiner, I'll start cutting it to width. With the stacked dado blade installed, I've set my table saw up to do a 5/16 by 5/16 rabbet to accept the plywood back. The ring holder will be a compression fit, so I'll lightly push the lumber into it and mark for my dados. For this project, all the dados will be a 1/4 inch deep. I want the mounting rail to stay one piece, so I'm going to mark the upright so I can notch around it. If you'd like to check out the build of this arts and crafts style cabinet, come back and click on the link above when you finish this video. With the center rail clamped in place, I'll go back and mark for the last dado for the ring holder. This board will become the holders for post style earrings. I'm moving the fence a 1/4 inch at a time and cutting both sides of the board. Now I'll slice off 3/16 of an inch thick sections. Now I'll mark the mortise pockets for post style earring holders. Now I'll mark for dowels that will hold hoop style earrings. I'll flip the rail over and drill 3/4 inch holes for dowels that'll be in the other side of the cabinet. I'll start the other cabinet by planing a couple of pieces of cherry down to 1/2 inch. They'll get dowels for hanging bracelets on. The marked out areas are what's going to get removed for the two boards I just planed. So I made a jig to route those two areas out. So my router's set up with a collar and a straight cutting bit. I'll just plow out the material in the opening. I'll square up the corners with a chisel so the boards will fit in place. I'm marking for where I'm going to drill for the dowels. I'm going to make a jig to set the dowels at a slight upward angle. I made this little jig so I can make sure all the dowels get cut the same length. Since the ring holders compression fit, I'm going to drill a finger hole in the plywood backing just in case I ever need to get it out. I can just push it out. All the parts are made. Now I'll go ahead and sand and finish all the inside stuff. I'm going to do it before assembly because it'll never be easier than it is right now. All the solid wood's going to get sanded with 150, 180, and then 220. All the plywood will just get sanded with 180 and 220. I'm going to round over all the ends of the dowels that'll be holding the bracelets. I love working with cherry, but if you're staining it, it has a tendency to get blotchy if you don't seal it first. In this case, I'm using General Finishes Clear Seal-A-Cell. Once it's applied, I'll wipe the whole panel down to even it out. Now I'll start wiping on the stain. This is red mahogany. When I'm done, I'll take a clean rag and wipe off the excess. I'm going to wipe on 2 coats of a satin poly. I'll give everything a light sanding with a 320 grit paper. I'll kind of feel along. Any place I feel that's rough, I'll just give it a little more sand until it's smooth. I'll wipe on 2 more coats of poly, give it another light sanding, and then wipe on a 5th and final coat. Anytime I'm doing a miter piece of my band clamps, I like to keep the glue to the inside of the joint so I don't get any squeeze out and glue the bands to the piece. Since my mortise pockets are 1/4 inch and the ring holders are 3/16, I had to make these little shims to push in the back, keep it pushed to the front. And there is the oh crap moment. I've been woodworking 25 years and I've never had anything break during a glue up. The problem is I've glued all those joints and that glue dries pretty fast, and I don't have any more dowel stock. Fortunately, the break is pretty clean, so I'm just going to line the grain up and glue it back together. If this was for a customer, I'd go buy some more dowel stock and remake whatever parts I needed to remake. But these 2 are prototypes, which in this case basically means they're for my wife, and she is not going to care. I have requests for more of these, so I've learned a few valuable lessons for next time around. It turned out pretty good, although I did end up going back and doing a little sanding and refinishing on it. Now that assembly's done, I'll sand all the outside with the same 3 grits of paper that I used to sand the inside. The finishing will be all the same steps as I used on the inside. I'll use pocket hole screws to mount the mounting rails. Now I'll mount the catch plate for the magnetic latch. If you decide to do a project like this, you really need to pay close attention to where your frame is going to be thick enough to handle the screws. Obviously, otherwise you take a chance on drilling right through the front of the picture. Now we'll install the latch itself. Now I'm going to mount the piano hinge. I'll locate the knuckle of the hinge right up against the cabinet. The screws that come with these hinges are pretty soft. They're made of brass, so I'll be using a screwdriver to take them in and out. I won't be using my impact driver. Now for the other side of the hinge, I'll push the cabinet right against the knuckle and mark that location. I've marked where I'm going to drill holes for small hooks for necklaces. Put a couple of layers of painter's tape on my pliers so I wouldn't mar the hooks, twisting them in. My wife did a nice job of refurbishing the picture frames. She used a dark brown tinted wax on it. It really came out nice. She also put new paper on the back. If you're curious about the green painter's tape, that marks the center of the shelf above. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.